Dana Covarrubias, costume designer for Only Murders in a Building. We talked last year about how this is really a coat show, not a murder show. And I feel like there were more coats than ever in season two. So was that your mantra this season? Just more coats all the time?
Yes, basically. Yeah, I think the fans really responded to the coats, and so yeah, we wanted to just keep going with the coats. It's lucky that we have this sort of established idea that Mabel is living in her aunt's apartment, so she has access to her aunt's closet. And we've never met her aunt, but her aunt is this, fabulously wealthy New York City woman who has an amazing wardrobe. So it allows us to kind of do a lot with Mabel and have this unending supply of beautiful coats that she is wearing. And yeah, I think being in New York, it's something that, I personally have, I think, two coat closets in my house. Like, it's just, you have a coat for every, type of weather that exists in New York. And it's something we love to sort of display on our show, and look at different textures and colors. And we use a lot of faux fur and a lot of bright colors, and it's really fun.
I love in the season two premiere when they discover Bunny's hidden elevator in her closet, and then Mabel grabs the three fall fur coats for them when they go outside. I was like that's a meta joke.
Yes, and it was funny. I actually came up with that idea, which was really
Ooh.
fun because as it was originally scripted, they, we kind of, it's interesting. We have this sort of established idea that when they're in the building investigating, they wouldn't necessarily have a coat on because they're not planning on going outside. So when they're in the building, you don't really see them wear coats. And then so we knew they were going to Bunny's apartment, not thinking that they were going to be leaving the building. So then they find this secret elevator, go down, and then there was a whole exterior scene, once they get outside right after that. And we shoot in the middle of winter, and I was terrified that our actors were going to be absolutely freezing in the 20-degree weather outside. So I kind of pitched in one of our, costume meetings, could we possibly, they're in her closet already. We've established that Bunny has these amazing fur coats. We always use faux fur on the show, but that she has these beautiful coats, and couldn't they each just grab one of Bunny's coats and throw it on, and it'll be hilarious, and it'll be just a nod to the whole coat thing on the show. And John Hoffman, our showrunner, went for it, and he was excited about the idea, and they added it to the script.
There you go. Best idea yet. So well, it's also great because the third episode is from Bunny's perspective, her last day, and she's wearing one of the furs. So
Right.
yeah.
Right.
Have you ever repeated a coat?
Oh gosh. Yes, we definitely have. I definitely on the guys. Charles has like three or four, main coats that he repeats
Yeah,
over and
he
over.
likes
He
repetition.
likes to repeat. Yeah, yeah. um, but Mabel, I think a couple times. We've had, I think, her oatmeal colored faux shearling coat we repeated a couple times, but we try to always do something new for Mabel. And Oliver's repeats a couple times too. Yeah.
Mhm. I feel like Oliver, in that same vein of more coats, he had more scarves this season.
Yes. Yes. I don't know that we've ever repeated an Oliver scarf. I think
Oh,
we've always done a new Oliver scarf. But we like to repeat, and we repeat a lot of the, Charles's and Oliver's shirts and pants, and we like to switch it up. But then I think with blazers and waistcoats, we do a lot of new ones, and scarves certainly. It's my favorite thing to hunt down a beautiful Oliver scarf. It's a really fun
where do
shot.
you find them? Where do you source these scarves? Because they're all like different textures and patterns too. So
Yeah.
it's not just
And
like
we
a black scarf.
Right. And we literally everywhere, online. We do a lot of sourcing of his scarves on the Real because they have a lot of secondhand, really high-end, Brunello, type scarves that are we can't really afford, but secondhand, they're much more affordable for us. And we actually tailor all of his scarves to fit him because scarves can be, really overwhelming for camera. So we always thin them and shorten them and make them exactly the right, length and size for Marty's frame.
Mm-hmm. I also enjoyed Oliver's night clothes.
Oh yeah.
Especially his robe. Where did you get that?
I think we might have gotten that from Real Real as
Okay.
well. We find a lot of great Oliver stuff, and that website really perfectly fits his character because it's all, high-end sort of designer secondhand pieces. And a lot of it's not all, I mean, a lot of it's very current, but some of it you can find some really good pieces from the early aughts and the late 90s. And, we're sort of saying in our world that is when Oliver had all of his money. So it makes sense that all of his really nice pieces would have been things that he got, in the 90s or the early aughts. So we try to find these really beautiful designer pieces on Real Real. And of course, it helps us with our budget too, because it's secondhand and it's not quite as expensive. Yeah, we like to have a lot of fun with his night clothes, lots of silk and lots of paisley and polka dots and lots of color. Yeah, it's really fun.
I know you were inspired by Hitchcock this season, the black and white like duality palette. Like we see a lot of black and white on Mabel and also Shirley MacLaine, and then at the end with Poppy and Cinda too. So how did you go about finding those coats and shirts and everything for them, and the specific patterns too? Because a lot of them are like puzzle pieces, like the square pattern on one of Mabel's sweaters.
Right. Oh, I love that you picked that up. Yeah, this whole season had a puzzle theme. So we were trying to find a lot of things that had sort of a puzzle vibe to them. But yeah, I was really inspired by Hitchcock this season and the beautiful, costume design of Edith Head in those films of his, and also sort of general Hitchcockian themes. One of them being, he's always playing with shadow and light, and this, sort of duality in his characters of, not everyone's good, not everyone's bad, everyone has many sides to them. And I thought that was really great for both Shirley's character and for Mabel this season, because both of them are, hiding something. And Mabel's kind of
Well,
unconsciously
she doesn't remember what
right. She kind of has these blackout moments where she doesn't really know what's going on. And so you as the audience, you don't know whether she's good or bad, and you don't know, what her truth really is. So I kind of wanted to show that black and white duality in her costume. And then Shirley as well, she's pretending to be someone she isn't, and it's sort of a mystery. Who is she? And I also just think, black and white looks so graphically beautiful on camera. And you see a lot of black and white in New York City. And yeah, I think, God, we source things from everywhere. We do thrifting, we do online, we do in-store, we do Bloomingdale's, we do Bergdorf's, everything. So it's really a mix. And for Shirley, we did some custom pieces that we made as well. Her second look was some of the pieces in there were custom. And I'm trying to think what else.
I love her second look because it's
yeah.
the complete opposite. So casual. She's just
Right.
like this leather jacket. She's like, this is who I really am. So-
Right. And we wanted to make sure that, the first version of her costume and her character that she was trying to portray was this, really wealthy, artistic woman. And then the second character was this sort of downtown artist type person. The first one being more of like an art collector, and the second one being the artist, So we wanted to make that distinct. And there's actually a funny story behind that, which is that in Shirley's fitting, I wanted to first fit her for the first look, and then kind of have a discussion with her about what the second look could be, because we had a little bit of time in between the two when we were shooting the two scenes. And I went in wearing, just a normal look that I would wear to work. And she actually fell in love with it. And she's just said, I think I just want to wear what you're wearing for my second change. And so we literally I was wearing this flowy dress and this kind of leather shirt jacket. And we took it and we found fabrics, and she picked out the fabrics, and we just sort of knocked off my entire outfit.
Oh my God, you're such a trendsetter. You're such an inspo. But wait, isn't this what happened with John Hoffman for season 1 because he saw some photo on your own website and he's like,
Yeah,
I want Mabel to look. So
I
you're
know.
so
It's so great.
stylish.
Thank you. It's so funny. It's just, yeah, I thought it was just, I mean, it's so flattering that she would want to wear something that I was wearing, but yeah, it was a dream come true working with her.
I think it's also great because it's kind of, I guess, against type of what you would expect someone like Shirley MacLaine to wear. I think like the first look for Leonora is like, that's something you would expect someone like
Right.
Shirley MacLaine would wear, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I loved Tina Fey's black and white coat in the finale because it looked like paint splatter, and I was like, that looks like blood too. Like, if you think about it, because since you know they were accusing her of or that was part of their theater.
Right.
But that the killer reveal party, you also had the Charles's fake death. So what went into the blood bag and like picking the right shirt for that?
Well, whenever we do blood, I think it's hard as a costume designer actually watching television or watching any sort of murder mystery because you generally know that someone's going to die or get hurt because they're wearing a light color. You can kind of always tell when someone's wearing like white or off-white or light blue or light gray, like, oh, they're going to get bloody. Because you want the blood to be seen, you want it to be dramatic. So we made sure to put him in a lighter colored shirt for that. And yeah, it was and then it's all involved with different departments creating the blood gag on the shirt and the knife sticking into the stomach and that whole thing. But yeah, with Tina Fey, we did a lot of black and white too towards the end because I think I just kept and Poppy as well, we kept sort of chasing this through line of who's who do we think is the suspect right now, who do we think is the most the greatest I'm trying to find the words, the suspect, the suspect,
the chrono mastermind.
Yeah. And so it kind of switches throughout the season. We had Shirley in black and white, and we had Mabel in black and white, and then we have Tina Fey in black and white, Cinda in black and white, and then Poppy in black and white. So it kind of that sort of palette moved from character to character as the season went along.
How much do you know about the season going into it? Like does John tell you like, oh, this is who the killer is? So then you could sort of like plan out the costume like that. Oh, I want them in black and white, like by the end, or is that like episode to episode?
It's kind of episode to episode, and I think every season we do, John is getting a little more comfortable about sharing who the killer is earlier on with the creative heads of the show, because it really is important for us to know, early on. But then again, maybe, I understand that he would want to bury the lead because, you don't want to hint at maybe that person being the killer so early on. So, but yes, first season, I really, I didn't know, I think until at least halfway through the season who it was. And then second season, I think I knew a couple episodes in. And then third season, which we just wrapped on, I actually knew at the very beginning. So it was like where every season we get a little bit better about me knowing, who it is.
It's like you haven't spilled the beans to anyone yet, so he can tell you earlier now.
Right. Trust. Yeah, the trust is established.
Well, for the core trio, in season 2, like some of their palettes and look kind of like bled into each other because like they're like spending more time together. So how did you go about kind of sprinkling that in like episode to episode, not to make it so obvious?
We just did it like every other episode or so, or just when it seemed like two characters were really vibing together within the trio, because there are episodes where it's what does he call it, Ollie Mabel, like where it's like
the Charles is silent.
Right. Where it's like mostly Oliver and Mabel, and then there's scenes where it's Charles and Mabel. And I think in episode 2 of season 2 was the one where when they were at the sort of memorial for Bunny, I really wanted Charles and Mabel to be really reflecting each other's wardrobe. So we put them both in a blazer that had a similar pattern. and I think Mabel's was like a dark green and Charles was a dark blue. And they really looked like a team, you know, when they were in that scene. Like they really looked like I don't know, like a buddy
It was
cop.
like their team uniform.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
looked like
because
a
sometimes
uniform.
they were just kind of wearing the same shade of a color,
Right.
too. So, yeah.
Right. And
Mhm.
it's funny, you know, I think like I see that all the time on the street in New York. You see people like accidentally twinning all the time. And it's one of my favorite things as a costume designer. I think there's even on oh, what is it called? Like one of those Instagram accounts where it's just photos of people in the subway creatures, I think it's called. They post a lot of things where, you know, you'll see two people sitting next to each other on the subway wearing the exact same thing, and they don't know each other. It just happened, you know, that way. And I think people who spend time together tend to start to dress similarly as well.
Mhm.
So yeah, that was just something I was playing with in season 2, kind of switching around their color palettes, having them dress similarly. But you know, in season 1, we establish, you know, Oliver is the purples and lavenders and teals, and Selena is the marigolds, and Steve Charles as the blues and grays and darker greens. And then this season we kind of had them all switch it up. So you know, you see Oliver in the marigolds, you see Selena in the blues and greens, and you see Charles in a little bit more purple, just kind of hinting that they're all kind of, you know, becoming enmeshed in each other.
Mhm. Well, the fifth episode, there's a 70s, not a flashback, but an imaginary party in Mabel's apartment. But you got to do some 70s designs, and including Mabel's disco ball dress, which was gorgeous. So how did you go about picking those clothes for them?
Oh man, we had so much fun with that. And the best part of that was that it was a fantasy, you know, it wasn't reality. So it was we could kind of go all over with it and just have a lot of fun. And it didn't have to be so period correct, which was, you know, just fun to just do whatever we thought looked cool. Um, and yeah, we had a ton of dresses for Selena to try. We almost went with this beautiful cream, I think it was like a jumpsuit that just fit her perfectly. And then we found that disco ball dress that just looked like a disco ball, and it was gorgeous on her. And we were like, oh, it has to be this. And then I loved Kara's look for that too. As Alice, she was wearing this really cool oversized faux fur with like no shirt under it and these amazing bell-bottom pants. And Steve and Marty, I mean, it was funny dressing Steve and Marty for that scene because they lived in the 70s. So they had definitely, like, I think putting that clothing back on, they were like, it was, you know,
Took them
triggering for
back.
them a little bit.
Yeah.
um, but they went with it. You know, I think they had a lot of fun and were
Mhm.
really game for putting on the platforms again.
Oh. Well, you worked with Amy Schumer before on Inside Amy Schumer and Life and Beth. So what was it like working with her on this? Her playing a fictional version of herself.
It was so fun. We had just before season 2 of Only Murders started, we had just wrapped Life and Beth. So I had just seen her, I think a couple weeks before for that job. And then she was on this job, and it was so fun. And you know, we're like old buddies at this point. And it was she came in with a wonderful idea. You know, we kind of imagined together, you know, what is the It Only Murders in the Building version of Amy Schumer. And she pitched the idea that, you know, it was kind of this Diane Keaton moment, this like sort of 70s Diane Keaton, you know, because we have a lot of we play with a lot of plaid and a lot of sort of traditional classic patterns and textures, which I think just helps with the sophistication of the Arconia, and it's that whole kind of look. And so yeah, her idea of Diane Keaton just made perfect sense, and we kind of went with that as her vibe. And then also I think, you know, there's this other sort of subplot where she's obsessed with Jan and kind of trying to be like Jan. And so we were like, oh, maybe she's also a little bit dressing like Jan. But yeah, it was a little more of a Diane Keaton touch
Yeah,
than
because she
Jan.
was kind of in character when they came to
Right.
her apartment as Jan. Yeah. So
Right.
well, lastly, what can you tease about season 3? You already saw some of your trench coats in the end of the finale of the play within the show. So what else can we expect in season 3?
Oh gosh, so much, so much. I mean, I can't spoil anything, but I can just say that every season the show gets bigger and more exciting. It's like a literal costume designer's dream. Every season gets bigger, more periods. I don't want to give anything away, but it's really
Is there any particular coat we should be on the lookout for?
Oh gosh. I'm like looking at Mabel's racks over there. So many beautiful coats. Which one? Oh gosh, I don't know. I mean, there's just so many. I'll also say there's a new character who I don't want to talk about too much. But she might steal the coat scene this season 3.
Wow.
Her coats really blow everything else out of the water. It's pretty fun.
Okay. That's gonna be the headline about season 3. So. Awesome. Well, Dana, it was great speaking with you. Thanks so much for your time. And congratulations on another great season.
Thank you so much. Nice to talk with you.
Yeah.